Welcome to the third session of our Discover Acumatica with 247Digitize webinar series. This session, titled Inventory Management in Acumatica, promises to be an insightful exploration of this crucial aspect of Acumatica, brought to you by the experts at 247Digitize. Before we dive into our agenda, a quick word about 247Digitize. We are a dedicated team of Acumatica experts committed to help businesses harness the full potential of this powerful ERP solution. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to drive efficiency, streamline operations, and maximize your ROI. I am Mazhar, Director of Business Development at 247Digitize. And on the organizing team today, I have Archana and Sam with me. Archana is the head of bookkeeping services at 247Digitize. Archana comes with over 18 years of experience in handling finance and accounts across industries like construction, education, alcobev, and automobiles. She is a CPA from CPA Australia and a chartered accountant from ICA India. Sam, who is the head of marketing at 247Digitize, is the technical expert behind this webinar. Thank you, Sam. Today, we will discuss these topics shown on the screen. Warehouse, stock items, non-stock items, kit assembly, and drop shipment. At the end of this webinar, we will have a Q&A session. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment box and we'll answer those questions. Over to you, Archana.
Thank you, Mazhar. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar of our Discover Acumatica Bookkeeping with 247Digitize series. Let me start off with a quote today. Steve Jobs said, "The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work." We at 247Digitize believe in this strongly. Let us now look at warehouses. When your organization has multiple buildings, storage rooms, or other facilities for storing inventory items, you can create multiple warehouses in Acumatica ERP to process and track inventory appropriately for each warehouse. You can create any number of warehouses, even virtual warehouses, in the way that best fits your business with the needed settings for each warehouse. Let us now look at the posting settings for general ledger accounts. The inventory account will vary depending on the warehouse where the inventory transaction is made. You select the source if you use multiple warehouses in each system, and each warehouse has a specific inventory account assigned. Under the basic scenarios of configuring posting classes, posting transactions for multiple items to the same GL account will be used when you have a single warehouse and the majority of inventory transactions are posted to the same GL account. Posting transactions to warehouse-specific GL accounts will be used when you have multiple warehouses and you have separate accounts for each warehouse. You can then do the following. Assign an individual inventory account to each warehouse, create a posting class and select warehouse as the source of the inventory account, assign item classes or items to the created posting class. You can combine these basic scenarios to post transactions according to business processes of your organizations. Let us now look at warehouse locations. In Acumatica ERP, you can create multiple locations in each warehouse and configure them to best fit the logistics that have been established in your company. You can reserve specific locations for sales, receipts, transfers, goods to be returned to vendors, and goods returned by customers. You can assign different pick priorities to locations to empty certain locations more quickly while using others less frequently. While configuring the locations of a particular warehouse in Acumatica ERP, on the Location tab of the Warehouses form, you add the needed locations to the table and specify the settings for each. You can select the following default locations for inventory operations, which will help you to simplify data entry on purchase receipts and sale orders. The first being the receiving location. The default receiving location for stock items in the warehouse can be defined. Second, the shipping location, which would be the default shipping location for the warehouse. Return merchandise authorization RMA location. The returned goods will be delivered to the location specified in this box regardless of the warehouse location selected by default for the receipt of these goods. Dropship location, the location used for dropship orders and inventory issues that are automatically generated for dropship orders. In the next slide, we will see in the location entry in the summary area of the warehouse form, you specify the option that indicates whether you want to allow users to add new locations on the fly when they are entering inventory documents. If an option that allows these additions is selected, user added locations can be viewed and edited if needed, along with other locations on the Locations tab of the form. We will now look at priorities of warehouse locations. If an inventory item with the same inventory ID in the system is stored in multiple locations of the same warehouse, the system has to find the appropriate warehouse location from which to issue the items when a user creates a shipment for a sale order. Thus, for each location in the pick priority column, you can specify the pick priority. If the system finds multiple locations that have the item, the system selects the location with the highest pick priority. If, for the majority of stock items, you specify a warehouse location in the default issue from box on the stock items form for an item, you can include this location in search for appropriate locations by selecting the Use Item Default Location for Picking checkbox on the Locations tab of the Warehouses form. When this checkbox is selected, the system treats the location specified in the default issue from box as having a higher priority than the location with the highest possible pick priority. That is, the system searches for locations in the following order until it finds a match. The warehouse location specified for the item in the default issue from box, the warehouse location with the highest pick priority specified on the Locations tab of the Warehouses form. Value 1 indicates the highest priority, 2 the next highest, and so forth to the lowest priority. 0 means that the pick priority is not defined. We will now move on to stock items. When you're creating a stock item on the stock items form in Acumatica, you specify an item type, which is used for informational purposes only. Type of stock items can be any one of the following. Finished goods. You use this type that you sell to customers. Component parts. You use this type for component items from which intermediate assemblies and finished goods are produced during kit assembly processes. Subassembly. You use this type for intermediate assemblies from which finished goods are produced during the kit assembly process. We will now look at inventory valuation methods. The cost that the transferred items will have in a destination warehouse depend on the valuation methods assigned to the items on the stock items form. As you can see on your screen, there are a couple of methods that Acumatica uses. For items with the average and standard valuation methods specified in the valuation method box, the cost of an item in the destination warehouse will be the same as the cost of the item at the source warehouse. If you select the first in, first out or FIFO, or otherwise known as the specific valuation method, a transfer receipt creates a new cost layer with the transferred quantity of the item and with the number and date of this transfer receipt. Let us now look at non-stock items. Non-stock items may be products that consist of no physical entity and thus cannot be stocked in warehouses similar to services, or they may be physical entities for which you do not need to track quantities in a warehouse. In a sale order, although non-stock items are not tracked in inventory, you may want to process them through shipment so that these items will be listed in pick lists and shipment confirmations. For each non-stock item, you define whether a shipment is required by selecting the Require Shipment checkbox. For the non-stock items, when the checkbox is selected, you can create a sale order invoice only after the shipment is created and confirmed for the sale order of the type that requires shipment in Acumatica. Under purchase orders, for each non-stock item, you can define whether a purchase receipt is required when the item is included in a purchase order by selecting or clearing the Require Receipt checkbox for the non-stock item. In a purchase order line on the purchase order form, when you select a non-stock item that requires a receipt, the system inserts non-stock as the line type. When you create a purchase receipt for the purchase order, the system copies all non-stock lines to the purchase receipt. We will now look at rules for closing and completing non-stock lines. The way the lines of the non-stock type are completed and closed depends on the completion rule specified for the applicable non-stock item in the close PO line box. The system determines if a line of the non-stock type should be closed and completed by using the following rules. By quantity, if this option is selected in the close PO line box of the non-stock item form, the purchase order line is considered completed and closed if the sum of the received quantity for the released purchase receipt prepared for the line is greater than or equal to the following: 1. The quantity of the purchase order line. 2. The value of the complete on percentage is defined for each line of the purchase order. By amount, if by amount is selected in the close PO line box of the non-stock items, the purchase order line is automatically considered completed and closed when the amount of all the bills for that line is greater than or equal to the amount of the line. Regardless of the option selected in the close PO line box, a line of the non-stock type is also considered completed on release of the purchase receipt prepared for the line if the user has selected the completed checkbox manually in the non-stock line on the purchase orders form. We will now look at kit assembly. An assembly is taking two or more parts and combining them together to form one ultimate part. A kit is combining two or more components and either bagging or boxing them together. Typically, this gives the end user the ability to easily assemble the parts without confusion. By specifying the kit assembly, we can know how much production is done and the raw material and labor that is used, what is the cost to produce one kit, and cost of the whole production. You would need to define your kit specifications as bill of materials and use production orders for assembly in order to plan for the kit requirements. Kit assembly is not only for stock items but also for non-stock items. We will see how both stock and non-stock items for kit assembly are different. Creation of kit assembly for a non-stock item. A non-inventory or a non-stock item refers to a type of product that is bought or sold within a business, but unlike inventory items, the quantity is not tracked. Typically, non-inventory items are either purchased for internal company use or as custom products for specific projects. Non-stock items allow you to essentially sell this item when you go to pick it. It will add all the kit items along with the pick ticket. So on the fly, one item is basically selling a bunch of items on your sales quote in order that you have only one line item, but when you pick it, it will show all those items. To create a non-stock item for a kit on the inventory menu, select the non-stock items form and add a new record. Specify the following details in the summary area, the inventory ID and the description. Specify the following settings in the General tab, the item class, and select the It is Kit checkbox and save your record. In step 2 on the next slide, we will see how to create the kit specifications. So, to define the inventory, we will go into kit specification. On the kit specification form, add a new record. Specify the following details in the summary area, the kit inventory ID, the revision, and description. On the non-stock components tab, add new rows, add the stock items. For example, since we are creating a jewelry set here, you can add the following stock items: necklace, earrings, rings, bracelets, and bangles. Specify the component quantity of each item which the customer may want in the jewelry set and click Save. In step 3, on the sales order form, add a new record. Give the following details in the summary area: the order type, customer, and date. Specify the details in the document details tab, the inventory ID, the quantity, and unit price. On the form toolbar, under actions, create the shipment and specify the shipment parameters dialog box when it opens. Click OK. On the form toolbar, under the main menu, click print pick list. On the next slide, as you see, if we take a look at our pick list, you can see that all items that the pick list comprises, you don't need to prepare in advance to sell these items. The pick ticket will automatically make sure that the picker includes everything in the box that is promised from the kit that you have just specified. We will now look at creation of a kit assembly for a stock item. A stock item carries an inventory level, which means that it requires an assembly process to get those items up to stock. In other words, the kit has a list of items that produce a stock that also may include non-stock items like labor, etc. In step 1, on the inventory menu in the stock items form, add a new record. Specify the following details in the summary area under the inventory ID and the description. Specify the following settings in the General Setting tab, the item class, and please check the box which says it is a kit and save your record. In step 2, on the kit specification form, add a new record. Specify the following details in the summary area: the kit inventory ID, revision, and description. Acumatica supports revisions because there may be a need to change this. On the stock components tab, you can add new rows, add the stock items. For instance, here we are creating a kit saying a drill set. So the items that we are adding here will be a screw gun, drill bit set, and the carrying case. Specify the quantity. On the non-stock components tab, add new rows and add service items if applicable, like labor, and save. In step 3, you can create the kit assembly for the stock item. On the inventory menu, under kit assembly, add a new record. Specify the following details in the summary area: the type, the date, inventory ID, revision, and quantity. You can also select the warehouse and location for which the production is needed. Notice that items are automatically added, and by specifying the production quantity, the item quantity, unit cost, and component quantity is automatically calculated. Save, remove, hold, and release. In the next step, let us look at creating a sale order for a stock item. On the sale order form, add a new record. Give the following details in the summary area: the order type, the customer, and date. Specify the details in the detail tab, the inventory ID, the quantity, and the unit price, and save your record. On the form toolbar, under the Actions tab, create the shipment. When the Specify Shipment Parameters dialog box opens, click OK. In the More menu, please select the pinned pick list. When the print pick list opens, if you take a look at the list, the picker will only pick this particular stock item because we assembled it in advance. So the difference between a stock and non-stock kit in Acumatica is that under non-stock items, you can define it unlike a predefined kit for a stock item. We will now move on to drop shipments. You can move a slide further, Sam. The next one, please. Thank you. Dropshipping means that a customer orders the goods from your company, pays your company for the order, and receives goods which your company has ordered directly from one of your vendors. In Acumatica ERP, you can create sale orders whose goods are intended for dropshipping. On release of a purchase receipt prepared for dropship purchase orders, the system does not create an inventory receipt because the items are not received to inventory and are instead delivered directly to your customer. In step 1, we will look at creating a sale order. On the Details tab, you will add the inventory items ordered by the customer. So on the sale order form, add a new record, specify the following settings, namely the order type, the customer details, and the description. On the Details tab, add a new record and specify the following settings: the branch, inventory ID, warehouse, quantity, and unit price, and save. As you can see on your screen, the system displays a warning in the quantity column in each line on the Details tab, indicating that the specified quantity is not available in the selected warehouse. In the next step, we will mark the items for drop shipment. Select Mark for PO checkbox. Because the items are not in stock, you will mark each of them for drop shipping by selecting the checkbox in the Mark for PO column. On the PO source column, select Dropship and save. Selecting Dropship in the PO source column means that the items will be ordered from the vendor and shipped directly to the customer. Step 3, in the next slide, we will see creating a dropship purchase order. On the sale order form, in the More menu, click Create a Purchase Order. The purchase order form will open. Select goods with dropship specified as the plant type. Specify the vendor. On the form toolbar, select Process. The system creates a dropship purchase order for the vendor and opens it on the purchase orders form. On the Details tab, in the Sale Order Number column, review the number of the sales order to which this purchase order line is linked. In the next slide, we will see processing the dropship purchase order. On the purchase order form, enter the PO receipt. The purchase receipts form will open up where you can review the details. In the summary area, select the Create Bill checkbox, which makes the system generate the bill automatically on release of the purchase receipt. On the Form toolbar, release this document. On the Billing tab, review the only line in the table which shows the generated bill and make sure the bill has the open status. On the Other tab, notice that the inventory reference number is empty. No inventory documents need to be generated because the items are shipped directly from the vendor to the customer. After drop shipping has been completed, You will now have to prepare an invoice for the customer by using the invoice form. On the sale order form, open the created drop shipment sale order. On the form toolbar, click Prepare Invoice. On the Invoices form, review the details and release. Return to the sale order on the sale order form, and on the Shipments tab, review the only line which has the shipment for the order. Notice that the purchase receipt that you have processed acts as a shipment for the sale order, and the reference number link to this purchase receipt is shown in the document number column in the only line on the table. Mass creating dropship purchase orders. Dropship purchase orders can also be mass generated for purchase requests related to multiple sale orders at one time. To mass process sale orders marked for drop shipment, you can open the Create Purchase Orders form, on which you create a dropship purchase order based on the dropship purchase requests that have been created for sale orders. On this form, you select the unlabeled checkboxes in the rows of the purchase requests of the dropship plan type to be processed and click Process on the form toolbar to generate the PO or orders of this type. A sale order can have two or more linked dropship purchase orders, but each generated dropship purchase order can have only one linked sale order. The system creates a consolidated dropship purchase order for each group of purchase requests for which both the sale order and the vendor are the same. We now come to the end of this webinar. Thank you for joining us today, and back to you, Mazhar.
So, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rachana. Very well explained. It was a great session today. Uh, so, for the audience, we encourage you to ask questions now so that we can answer. So, we leave a time of 2 minutes to read out your questions, and we'll answer here on the in the webinar itself. Please leave your questions in the chat box. Thanks.
Mazur or John, we have two questions already. Should I read them to you?
Please do that, Sam.
Sure.
Thanks.
The first
Thanks a
question that
lot.
we have is from Ahmed Jalil. Thank you very much. What are the reports available?
Okay, thanks for the question, Ahmad. If you could be more specific as to the reports from which area that we covered on this webinar, I'll be able to answer that better.
Okay, sure. Let's wait for him to answer. And while we wait for him, we have another question from Eric Pena, and he says, "How can I create a purchase order for multiple sales orders with back order items?"
Okay, thank you for the question, Eric. May I check back and revert back to you? Give me a couple of minutes, please. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll still give a couple more minutes while we give these answers. And also, once again, Mr. Jalil, please, if you can be more specific with your question, we'll be very happy to help to answer to you.
So, to answer your question, Eric, to create a purchase order for multiple sale orders at once, you can go to the Create Purchase Orders form. If you need to change the creation date, please go ahead and in the table, please select the unlabeled checkboxes next to the needed lines with the SO to purchase type so that each of the selected line you have with the proper vendor that is specified. You can click process on the form toolbar or click process all so that you can generate purchase orders for all the listed sale orders. The system will then generate the purchase orders. I hope that's answered your question.
By the way, to everyone present, this recording will be available on our LinkedIn site. So if you want to go over some of the items or some of the answers as well, you can do it whenever it suits you best.
So I guess this answer, your answer has satisfied Eric. He has mentioned sure on the chat box in the comments. Do we have more questions, Sam, or should we?
No, the one from Mr. Hamad
Jalil.
Jalil. Well, he didn't specify, but whenever you want us to help you with this, just send us a quick message, or you can contact Mazar. Oh, there he is. Inventory aging. That was the question about what are the reports available about inventory aging. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your question, Ahmed. So on inventory aging, the default report that we always have seen in Acumatica are something that can be generated in the current date. So if you need backup reports, please make sure to run the inventory aging report. On the inventory aging report, you have the cost and the quantity specified per stock keeping unit, or otherwise known as SKUs. So this is the default report that is available for your inventory aging. There is also a report that comes out of Acumatica, which is known as the dead stock item report. So that can be run to see how old your stock is, and if it has crossed a certain time limit, which will help you to see how much of a stock pile up is there. Some other reports in Acumatica that we've worked with customers have been customized for their specific use, but these are the two most commonly used reports that we've seen. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much, Archana, for answering those questions. I think we have no other questions right now. So thank you very much, everyone who asked a question. And once again, let me mention it, that all the previous topics, all the answers, and everything that has been mentioned today, you can see it again because the webinar is going to be on our LinkedIn site for you to check any specific topic that you want to review once again. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Mazhar.
Can we go to the next slide, Sam? Yes. If you're interested in learning more, please do get in touch with me. You may make a note or take a screenshot of my contact details. Let's discuss how we can streamline your or your client's bookkeeping processes. Looking forward to connecting soon. Thank you all for being a part of today's webinar. We look forward to see you at the next one, which is on November 29th, where we will discuss budget, allocations, and sub-accounts. Stay tuned to our LinkedIn page for more updates. We appreciate your participation. If you have any further questions or feedback, please reach out. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Sam.